Welcome to Science. If you haven't gotten your guided notes for 1.2, make sure you go ahead and do that and maybe pause the video. For this week, we're going to be doing the same thing as we did last week. So you'll have a set of guided notes, which is what this video is. You'll have a set of Cornell notes, which you do on your own, and then you've got a project for the week. And that's your typical week for science. And just as a reminder, make sure you're filling out the guided notes as you watch this video. You can pause it if you need to. The Cornell notes you do independently, and then you add a photo of that to your work plan, and then you do your project for the week. So hopefully this will go a lot faster this week, and you'll be able to start your project sooner because you don't have any tutorial or how-to videos. So last week we looked at what causes a few different natural disasters. This week, we're going to look at how they affect humans or how they impact humans. So the essential question that we're trying to answer this week is, what happens to a community when a natural disaster occurs? A couple of vocab words to know, and this is a review from last week, but a natural disaster is any natural event that has a negative impact on humans. A natural hazard is a natural event that has the potential to impact humans but hasn't yet. So an example could be a volcano, and a volcano could be either one of those actually, depending on what's happening. So if a volcano is erupting on an island in the middle of nowhere, that's going to be a natural hazard because it hasn't affected any humans yet. But if a volcano were to erupt in Seattle or just outside of Seattle, that would be a natural disaster because it would affect the city and then just people's property and businesses. So some of the things that I'm going to ask you to consider this week as you're watching videos and learning about the topic, and I'm not going to read them all. So how would your family unit hold up in a natural disaster? So if we were hit by a really major tornado, how would that affect your family? How would you mentally deal with a natural disaster? Are some populations more affected by natural disasters and why? So if we have people of color or third world countries that are more likely to be harmed by natural disasters, what's some of the causes of that? And then what happens to human health? And so we're going to look at three areas. So the first one is economic effects of natural disasters. And so weirdly, people that are poor or low income are more often affected or kind of harder hit than the wealthy are. And so a couple of reasons for that. So poor people are usually less able to afford medical care. So if they're in a hurricane and their leg gets gashed or kind of damaged, they're not going to maybe be able to actually take care of their medical bills at a hospital. Two, they're less able to rebuild homes, buy clothes, food, or furniture. So if their home gets damaged, then they might have had all of their money invested in the house and they might not have any extra. Three, they may actually keep their money in the house and not a bank. So some people in rural areas, just because a bank is not close, they will just keep their earnings or their money in their house somewhere. So maybe they keep it in a bowl or a cabinet. And so there's stories of people that have lost thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in a flood just because they didn't have time to get to a bank and they just kept it in their house. And then the last one is they might not be able to go stay in a hotel while their home gets rebuilt. So just, spending $100 a night on a hotel is just not doable for people that are lower income or poor. The second one is going to be social effects of natural disasters. So if there is a natural disaster, it's pretty common for families to be separated or kind of torn apart. You're going to see more people end up homeless. Family violence may increase or start for the first time. Somebody might lose a job. People with special needs might be really impacted. So if somebody's on a walker or in a wheelchair, they may not be able to get around a bunch of debris and logs and cars that have been kind of thrown everywhere. And then different parts of the population might be affected more than others. So if you think back to COVID, you might remember that everybody had a fair chance of getting it or catching it, but older people were more likely to die from COVID than younger people are. And the last one is going to be emotional effects. And so if somebody is going through a tornado, hurricane, or some other natural disaster, it's really common for them to experience trauma from it. And that might be something like anxiety, depression, or even just anger for no reason, and insomnia. And some of those things might take longer to appear than others. So it might take years for them to be able to recover from the natural disaster mentally. Okay, and then so we're going to look at some firsthand accounts of people that survived these 4 natural disasters. And that's going to be on the bean table. So it was right next to the guided notes. And it's all 4 firsthand accounts, all stapled together. So it's somebody who survived a tsunami, somebody who survived an earthquake, somebody who survived a tornado, and then somebody who survived a hurricane. It's like their firsthand experiences, and it's all stapled together on the bean table. And so what I'm going to have you do is annotate them. So you can see you'll need 3 different colors, and you're welcome to use mine or use yours. And so as you're reading them, if you notice them mention something that's an economic effect of the natural disaster, you're going to highlight it in a color. In my example, I've got green. If it's an example of a social effect of a natural disaster, you can highlight it in red. And then if it's an emotional example of emotional effect, you can highlight it in yellow. And there will be multiple in each article. So it's not like only one economic or one social. After you've done that, you're going to hole punch it and put it in your binder, just like you have been with your guided notes. And I'll check it off randomly in a week or 2, just to make sure you're staying on track. After you've done that, you'll want to go ahead and continue with your Cornell notes, or start your Cornell notes actually, just like you did last week. And if you have any questions, as always, you can just let me know.